We're your teacher friends.
Hi, it's your teacher friends Lydia
and Heather.
I'm very happy to be showing you through this activity something that combines both science and art with easily sourced materials, and it's crystal painting. What's so special about this, Heather?
Well, apart from that crystals are beautiful and special and interesting to Minecraft fans as well, which may be in your classroom, crystal painting helps us to understand more about changes between solids and liquids, about mixtures and dissolving,
That's right.
about properties of different materials.
Properties of materials meaning how different chemicals form different types of crystals. The students will be able to see this in their artwork when it dries up.
Before we get into the classroom, we need to mix up a saturated solution that's going to be our paint for this, the crystal paint. So we're going to show you using two different types of salt to mix in. I'm going to make a solution that uses Epsom salts. Lydia's going to make a solution using table salt or sodium chloride.
I think it's important here to emphasize that it is not melting. When we put something solid like table salt into water and we're stirring it, many students might use the words melting, and it's not, it's dissolving.
Well, I'm going to pour Epsom salts into mine. You can check the notes for exactly how much for each of them.
So this is what's interesting now, because Heather has put double the amount of Epsom salts to table salt, it does show how much of each solid can dissolve in liquid. So this painting will be successful when the solution that we make is saturated. Now what saturated means is that even though we cannot see it, there are spaces within water that can accommodate or take in solids like Epsom salts and table salt. And what we want to do is to make sure that those spaces are fully filled. And that's when we say that a solution is saturated. And that means that we have as many crystals as possible packed into that amount of liquid.
One more big shake.
One more big shake.
All
We're
right.
doing a lot of shaking in science. Shaking in the name of science.
We'll just move the wet things out the way so that we can do some painting.
So this is another way you know that your liquid is saturated and that no amount of shaking anymore will cause these leftover bits to dissolve. This tells us that the spaces in the water are all fully filled. That's it.
All right, ready for painting?
Are you able to see some leftover salts in yours? Good, that's right.
A little.
A little bit? Good. So we've got two saturated solutions.
We'll just find a small dish or a cup to pour it into. And usually we'd share these around the classroom.
Hey.
And our paper. Now we can't just paint this onto regular paper like you've done your worksheets on. We need the art paper, the paper that's a bit thicker.
May I get started?
Let's paint.
All right, because my children and students love me. Are we going to try to put in as much liquid as possible?
We want to make it look so you can see it's shiny, so you can see a layer of the water on there. The thicker we can get it, the more salt's going to be in there to turn back into crystals when the water evaporates.
So the solid that we started with was this first dissolved into water that produced a liquid solution. And when this liquid solution is painted on the paper, the water component evaporates. And when the water component evaporates, the water leaves this painting. What it leaves behind are the crystals.
I'm going to quickly do one to show you what not to do as well. When you're normally doing painting with watercolors and you spread it out really thin, that will not make as good crystals. Tips for when they've actually done the painting, just be careful what they're doing with the paintbrushes. Try to not move the paintings as much as possible. If you have to just carry it just a little way to put it somewhere to dry, don't disturb them while we're drying. And then we can show you some beautiful ones that we've made earlier. And you can see some lovely crystals there.
So what we see with crystals made from table salt, So this painting was made with table salt crystals that they are cuboid in shape, meaning they look like little cubes. And likewise with this dragon. And the point to note here is that sodium chloride or table salt crystals are cube-like to begin with. And when they dry up in the painting, they will likewise produce a cube-like crystal. And the longer we take to make these crystals, the larger these crystal sizes get. And Heather will show you the crystals made from Epsom salts.
Yes, here's a nice big messy one from a kid that painted right to the edge of the paper, which I wouldn't recommend because it makes more mess to clean up. But we can see the beautiful needle-shaped crystals.
So, we hope you enjoyed this activity with your class because I'm sure they'll have lots of fun learning about physical changes through this activity.